When you put BMW, all-wheel drive, and the word practical together in a sentence, it's fair to assume the subject would be one of the company's sport activity vehicles, which is Bavarian speak for SUV. That's why it's never smart to jump to conclusions. The 640i Gran Turismo is something different. You might call it a hatchback, though considering it's 8 inches longer than a Honda Accord and starts at around $71,000, 84 grand is tested, that doesn't seem quite right, does it? Hatches are typically the definition of cheap and cheerful. Let's just call it unique, like many of BMW's variants. Once upon a time, even series BMWs, 2, 4, 6, and 8 were two-door coupes, and odd series cars, 3, 5, and 7 were four-door sedans. But that is no longer a hard and fast rule at BMW. In fact, you can't even get a two-door 6 Series anymore. Both models, the Gran Coupe and the GT here, have 4 of them. Sure, there's the convertible, and it does have 2 doors. I'm talking about fixed-roof cars. 2-door coupes are hardly killing it when it comes to sales. Have to believe the 4-door thing is purely business. 640i GT effectively replaces the 5 Series Gran Turismo, adding luxury and removing the 5's guppy look. There's no doubt the GT is a BMW, though the signature Hofmeister kink, that short rise from the beltline that meets up with the rear pillar, is laid back in more of a horizontal fashion. If you want your 6 Series sleeker looking, go with the Gran Coupe, but it's less practical. I've said it before, it's worth repeating. Hatchbacks rule. You can get all sorts of big things into this wide, yawning opening. And it's well laid out. The 2 substantial security covers can be stored away in a dedicated space under the load floor, making way for more cargo. There are hooks, power ports, and this great elastic band that every car should have. It's always good to have 40-20-40 split rear seats, especially for those finishing up a kitchen remodel. I easily got a couple 2x4s in here. But when just filling up the cargo area the way most people would, with stuff most people wouldn't buy this much of, the 640i scores a respectable 7 packs of the 2-ply. Maybe you're more interested in the go factor than chores, though. The turbocharged 3-liter inline 6-cylinder is good for 335 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque low in the rev range through 5,200 RPM. The 6 Series Gran Turismo is an all-wheel drive machine. The transmission is an 8-speed. Like most electric selectors, I'm not too keen on this one. It should be no surprise there's manual control, driving modes too. Because this car is equipped with the $4,100 dynamic handling package, the dampers can be adjusted along with throttle, steering, and transmission mapping. It also adds adjustable air suspension to both axles, not just the standard rear system. This can raise the car nearly an inch. GT can haul cargo. It can also haul asphalt. 0 to 60 happens in about 5 seconds. You will not be denied in the power department. It's smoother than a fresh can of Crisco. Wanted to say jar of Skippy, but trying to be original here. FYI, the 6 Series Gran Coupe with its 4.4-liter V8 does that deed nearly a second quicker. This being a grand touring car, it can be driven all day long. For starters, it's eerily quiet, and comfort mode is truth in advertising, even with the lower profile tires on the M Sport package's 19-inch wheels. Okay, about the modes, the comfort setting, a little bit too Buick-y for my tastes. I have put it into sport mode and it is staying there. Meaning the dynamic handling package is money well spent. It also adds active roll stabilization and integral active steering. Body movements are well controlled. Even with all of that, the 640i Gran Turismo is not knife sharp during hard cornering, though I have to believe it's more fun in the corners than the higher riding X5. BMW's tagline, the ultimate driving machine, arguably one of the best in marketing history, but maybe the company is a victim of its own success. Really? Does every vehicle need to handle like an M3? I don't think so. This is a grand touring machine. It can be a little bit comfortable. To reduce lift and improve aerodynamics, the active rear spoiler extends at 75 miles an hour and retracts under 50. And no, I don't think law enforcement is paying attention to those cues. One thing I will say about BMW, they sure know how to tune transmissions. The 8-speed is always in the right gear. I averaged about 21 miles of travel on each gallon of specified premium gasoline. That's mixed driving. People don't seem to care about efficiency these days, though, do they? The Driving Assistance Plus package is the company's semi-autonomous driving system. There's adaptive cruise with stop-and-go ability, lane keep assist with side collision avoidance, plus front cross-traffic alert. On the highway, BMW's system is not as comprehensive as Cadillac's Super Cruise, but at $1,700, it's a good value. As different as the Gran Turismo is, the cabin is pure BMW. You'd swear you were in a 5 Series station wagon, though sadly those don't come to the US. Wonder if BMW has a copyright on the Pantone color of the leather's saddle hue. It's nearly as recognizable as the Rondell. There's no skimping on the stitching or the hardware. The heated and vented chairs are a supportive place to watch the miles go by in, even with drivers that have a lofty inseam number for their Levi's. A massage feature is available. xDrive keeps getting more flexible. Here, it's operated by touch or the classic knob that's surrounded by buttons. Like all of these systems, I suggest trying them for yourself because they're a very important part of operating a car these days. The interface also has gesture controls. You can turn up the volume simply by doing this. Usually, performance anxiety. Ah, there it goes. Just the kind of music BMW owners listen to. If you're an iPhone user, BMW is one of the few manufacturers to offer wireless CarPlay. It's $300, but that's the price to pay for not plugging in. No Android Auto. Don't blame the messenger. The car has a good amount of hard buttons, so iDrive isn't always necessary. The surround view camera system is particularly good. The auto park system works great too. I just forgot to shoot it. Sorry. Evil Twin was just here to talk about the back seat. I don't know.
I'm in the trunk.
What are you doing back there?
I'm ready to do the trunk test.
No, that's somebody else's gag. Remember, I already did the TP trunk test.
Oh, okay. Well, let me out.
No, I will tell you about the back seat. It's very roomy.
Come on.
The seats recline, it's trimmed out well, and the glass roof makes for a spacious atmosphere.
It's getting hot back here.
Quiet, please. There's storage for iPads if the $2,200 entertainment system is skipped. Heated seats and generous legroom will keep a couple comfy. Because of the drive shaft tunnel, 2 is all I would regularly haul back here.
Come on.
A reminder to let my brother out, who can't seem to figure out what the glow-in-the-dark release does. If you build cars on the BMW website for fun, you might notice that this one, as tested, is close in price to a base 7 Series, but emphasis on base. The price would climb ever higher as the options were ladled on, sort of a BMW tradition, and buying the Gran Turismo gives you more than hatch practicality and all-day driving comfort. There's some exclusivity happening here, since it's not on the radar screen of many Americans. There's more to life than just sedans and SUVs. I suggest taking the 640i Gran Turismo for a spin while dropping in to check out an X5 or X6. You might find something different is something good. Now, I could go deep in the weeds about the lack of station wagons, but it seems the only humans that embrace them are automotive riders. My theory on why we go all weak in the knees when a hatchback or wagon comes along is that we see so many sedans and crossovers, it's a welcome moment to write about something different. And because they generally ride lower than SUVs, they generally handle better. Hope you enjoyed the scenery in rural Washington state. A lot of people think that I live in New York. Nope. I enjoy shooting these pieces and don't mind taking the extra time on days like this. Very pretty. Just don't move here. It's very crowded in Seattle. Housing prices are astronomical, and it's usually rainy. This is what Northwesterners always tell people. Hope you learned something from my profile of the BMW 640i Gran Turismo. Wish I had something witty to say since you've stuck around to the very end, but sorry, I've put it all in the piece. I could say hatchbacks rule again, but that would be redundant, so I'll just sign off before I make a complete fool out of myself. That's driven, I'm Tom Voelk.